Dakota Prabhu driving our car towards the temple. Dakota Prabhu, you born in Alabama?
I'm born in Alabama.
How is Georgia for you?
Georgia for me, I like the forests. I like the mountains of Georgia, but I don't like the city so much.
Really?
Yeah.
People say Atlanta is beautiful.
I don't like cities like at all. I just don't like cities. I like to spend my time closer to nature.
Okay. That's a good point.
Sattva.
Sattva, yes. I heard you studying the Ayurveda?
Yeah. Yep. Studying Ayurveda for about 4 months now.
What made you to study the Ayurveda?
Well, originally, we can't go this way. Okay, far out. Okay, so originally what led me to start studying Ayurveda was whenever I began studying yoga. As I began to study yoga, I was studying through more traditional lineages, which were meant to be learned in conjunction with Ayurveda. And the more that I learned about Ayurveda, the more it spoke to me as an individual. And the more I tried out, the more my self-awareness improved, and the more my quality of life began to improve. And from that, I just love it.
Okay.
I just love it. We need to be taking the left.
Yes. Interesting. So, how long you have been studying the yoga?
So I've been studying yoga seriously for about 1 year now.
Okay. So, do you think Ayurveda and yoga is so much related?
Yeah, I think Ayurveda and yoga are inseparable from each other.
Oh, that's good. Find the point.
So,
can you explain a little bit more?
Yeah, so Ayurveda gives us the means to take care of the body, and yoga gives us the means to go beyond the body. And without Ayurveda to take care of the body, have a healthy body, clear mind, it's much easier to go beyond the body in meditation, japa, and different practices. So your yoga becomes more effective when you practice Ayurveda. And your Ayurvedic practice is also supplemented by your yoga practice.
Oh.
So yoga gives you bodily practices. Ayurveda gives you the techniques like the Shat Karmas to keep everything, Panchakarma and all of that, keep everything clean and purified. And the yoga allows you to take it deeper. So it's a whole being wellness. You know, it's not just health of the body, it's not just health of the mind, and it's not just spiritual and ignoring all that stuff. It's the whole picture.
Okay.
You know. And the science of Ayurveda, disease is born from forgetfulness, from pragya aparad. So forgetfulness or crimes against knowledge is what it translates to. But ultimately all disease is born of our forgetfulness of our true nature of divinity. And health, the Ayurvedic definition of health is remembering, bringing back to memory and bringing back into being the knowing of one's true identity, the Swarupa. So yeah.
Very interesting. So what do you mean the divinity?
I mean, part and parcel of God. You know, the disease is born from forgetting that we are as powerful as we are as Jiva souls. So we ourselves are endowed with the qualities of God our Father who created us. And ultimately it's forgetting that we come from God that we become deluded, and then we begin to commit pragya aparad. We begin to rack up karma, and we begin to make some mistakes because we don't know. We don't have the intelligence.
So you mean yoga, Ayurveda is the base, is the divinity?
What'd you say?
The Ayurveda and yoga, if we want to really know deeply, then we should know the divinity also.
Yeah, well, actually, the goal of Ayurveda is to give your body sustainable health so that you can have self-realization.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to be self-realized when the body is sick all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, the only reason Ayurveda wants to make you healthy is so you can have some self-realization.
Mm-hmm. So nice. I'm so surprised that within 1 year yoga student and 4-month Ayurveda knowledge, so you have like a so deep understanding. I'm really impressed about that. And also you born here. So at the beginning, what made you to study yoga? How you reached to yoga?
Well, that's actually I was always called for yoga. I had some samskaras. I had some samskaras as a child. I've always been attracted to yoga, but I've never had the facilitation to anybody to learn it from. So I've always had a passionate desire to want to learn, but nobody to really teach me. And then the more I started practicing the more I started dabbling back whenever I was going through a pretty severe mental health crisis, I began to realize that yoga was kind of like the substitute for all the drugs I was doing. Because
you mean you used to take a drug?
Yeah, I used to take a lot of drugs.
What kind of drugs you used to take?
It'd be easier to tell you what drugs I didn't take, Prabhu.
Wow. How old are you now?
I'm 24.
24? What? When did you take first drug?
5. I was 5.
Huh?
Yeah.
When you were 5, you took the drug? Who gave you the drug then?
My father.
Your father? I never hear like that. Any father give the drugs to your 5-year-old children.
Well, it started with beer.
Beer?
Yeah. It started with beer, and when I was 12, my father and I started smoking weed together.
At the age of 5?
No, 12.
12, okay. So you mean alcohol and age of 5 and weed in age of 12?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I'm 4 years in US only, so do you think this is very common in USA?
Where I'm from, yeah. Yeah, where I'm from, it's totally common.
You're from the Alabama state, right?
Yeah. When I grew up, I didn't know anybody who didn't do drugs.
Drugs means the alcohol or?
Alcohol, weed, pills, needles.
Needles?
Yeah. Smoking things. Crack.
The needle mean what is the name of the needles they call?
Different things like heroin, meth, stuff like that.
Is it expensive, no?
Well, that's why people get on it, because it's so cheap. It's cheaper than their pain medicines. So they start buying drugs off the street.
Cheaper than pain medicines?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you can get hard drugs cheaper than you can pain medicines from your doctor. So,
are you serious?
Yeah, so when people can't afford their doctor's medicines anymore, they go find a guy on the street and they buy drugs from him.
Really?
Yeah.
In USA, pain medicines are expensive?
In USA, pain medicines are extremely expensive. There's it's actually a massive opioid epidemic. I think something along the lines of, I can't remember what percentage of the population it was last time I looked, but I do know that from the area that I'm from, the opioid epidemic was like, I think it was at least 1 in 10 people were fully addicted to something.
Wow.
That's nationwide though. Now
nationwide?
Yeah. For my local area, it's much more concentrated. There's a much more of a people work hard, they hurt themselves, and then they don't have to. That's what brought me to Ayurveda, is because the first thing we do in the West is we push medicine down your throat.
Mm-hmm.
In Ayurveda, what they do is encourage you to heal from within, change the way that you think, take some herbs, change the way that you eat. You know, don't take a bunch of drugs. Do this gently from inside and outside at the same time. But the thing about Alabama is, like, people work really hard because they're poor, so they hurt themselves.
What kind of work they do mostly? Like physical work?
Yeah, it's construction, a bunch of stuff like that, concrete, bricklaying, working on cars, different things. So people work really hard. They have a tendency to get injured, and when they get injured, the first thing their doctor does is gives them pain meds. And when they take those medicines, they get addicted. And when they run out of the medicines, they need more, you know. And a lot of the time, the medical system is so flawed, it's just fueling this addictive cycle. So by the time they get so addicted to their pain medicines, they actually prescribe them another pain medicine to get off of their pain medicine. And these medicines are so usually somewhat hard to come across or expensive. And unfortunately to say, they're actually not that hard to come across in many areas. There's many times you can find people selling their prescription medicines just to get a little bit of extra money for the month because they can't work and stuff like that.
But I have a question. I saw you can go to CVS and any gas station, Walmart, any, you know, Kroger, any grocery store. There is a what is it called? There is a pain medicine, painkiller. It's like $2 only.
Yeah,
BC powder, you know, all this thing, you know.
Right. Those are over the counters. They're not narcotics. Narcotics actually intoxicate you. They make you feel high.
So you mean, now you just mentioned that pain medicine is cheaper than the drug. That's why people take the drug. But you mean the people take the drug because people wants to take the drug because they want to go high, not the painkiller.
Well, it's both. It's both. So,
okay.
What it starts out as they need pain medicine. And the pain medicine that they're prescribed, it gets them high. Their brain gets addicted. Their body gets addicted to having that opioid in their system. They get addicted to having that. And when it becomes harder to procure, or when it becomes too expensive, they can find cheaper versions of the same drug almost. The only thing is, they're usually much more potent when you get it off the street, and they're much more uncontrolled. So you really don't know what you're getting. Not all the time.
Oh, so I really like to know. We really will discuss, you know, about society in USA. But my main point that in around 1 year, like little more than a year, you are yoga student. So can you give a conclusion that how happy you are, or how you satisfied to learn about yoga and Ayurvedas?
So yoga has given me the tools to rediscover who it is that I am. And it's given me the tools to increase my self-awareness, to realize that I've never really known who I was before. So when I started to finally practice yoga, I began to finally understand who it is I am. And whenever I began to understand who it is I am, I understood that I don't need all of the things that I was taught that I needed before. Or I had taken on myself to learn. The blame is definitely both ways. A lot of it was a societal influence. But ultimately, yoga gave me the means to start undoing my conditioning and to change the way that I started thinking about myself, the way I saw myself, the way I spoke to myself, and the way I treated myself and others. And as I found Ayurveda, it gave me a deeper method to heal on a very thorough level. So yoga was helping me to get the body in shape, keep the mind pure, teach me to start meditating, teach me to start cultivating self-awareness. But what Ayurveda offers me is a long-term plan of health and sustainable self-realization. So it's a naturopathic medical system that I can use to recover from long-term drug addiction. I can use it for long-term mental health sustainability and long-term happiness. I can use it for dietary influences. I can use it to influence my diet on a day-to-day basis to keep my body and mind the healthiest I can. So I got into it because there isn't a single area of life that it does not encompass. So Ayurveda, being the science of life, is universal. It's not only applicable in India, it's not just a science of medicine for the body, it's actually a means of understanding the world around us. So I've always appreciated things that are versatile, like multi-purpose tools, so to speak, and Ayurveda has always jumped out at me as a very multi-purpose tool. And it's given me the ability and the power and the tools to proceed forth with my long-term healing. And it's also given me a means and modality of teaching others how to do the same thing, because one of the things that I feel called to do in this incarnation, just in order to repurpose my karma for my dharma. So I've got all of this time, all of this experience around drug addicts, drug addiction itself, how easy it is to slip into, how hard it is to get out of. I've also found healing through Ayurveda and yoga. And I've also, now that I've got this karma, this heavy tamasic karma, I can use this karma to do my dharma, which is now to help people who are going through that. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to do it through the tools, through the systems, the integrated systems of yoga and Ayurveda.
I'm so amazed. You are 24 years old and your short time in yoga Ayurveda subject, and your realization is so deep. I'm really amazed about that. And so I have one more question, that how you came into the yoga? How did you come in? I mean, like a fact, like an incident, like turning point in your life, though. Okay, you mentioned already that all the drug addicts, all this thing, you're looking for a better thing, find out the yoga. But I want to know the turning point, how or who made you to come to the yoga?
So I was about to commit suicide, and I was talking to my brother about it. I was like,
the Nathan?
Yeah, I was talking to Bhakta Nate about it. And he was like, he just told me to come by, come hang out with him for a few hours.
May I know which year, like, you tried to suicide, like when you felt like that?
Yeah, it was about 2019, 2020, early 2019 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, I hollered at him. I got in communication with him and let him know. When I say I hollered at him, it's like a southern way of saying that I called him. I gave him a call, I hollered at him.
Okay.
So anyways, I called him and let him know I had some things going on, and he told me to come by. And he would talk to me and help in whatever way he knew how. And he really didn't know how, because our situations were so different. But either way, he's like, come by, and I'll, at the very worst case scenario, I'll just listen to you and give you somebody to talk to. So when I got there, he gave me my first set of malas. He gave me these beads on a string, right? I don't know what they are.
You mean the chanting beads?
Yeah, they were Rudraksha. They were Rudraksha beads.
Okay.
And I didn't know what they were. I didn't know what they were for. They looked a little bit like prayer beads or rosaries or something like that. So anyways, and he started to tell me about this mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra. And he gave me the book Chant and Be Happy.
Okay.
And
that means this is your first yoga book, kind of a book, like related to India or yoga or something.
Right.
Chant and Be Happy, written by Srila Prabhupada.
Right.
Okay.
So I didn't really know what to think of it. I was coming from a different background, and I thought he was crazy. I thought Nate was crazy. Actually, I left his house that day more worried about him than I was worried about myself, and I was the one planning suicide. But I was like, man, my brother's losing his mind. He's, sitting around repeating these words and talking about some Indian guru. And I was like, yeah, I didn't really know what to think about it.
Okay.
So I didn't take it so seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But that was my first encounter. But anyways, as life went on, things continued to get harder and harder. Things continued to unfold, and my karma slowly but surely was unpacking itself. It actually wasn't so slow. It was happening pretty quickly. But one day at work, I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, yeah, I've got to do something different. I've got to try something. So I just started saying the words. I was just walking around all day at work saying the mantra. And I had such an accent. I was just like, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. And I was like, man, I sound so stupid saying this. But I couldn't stop. I hated the mantra. Like, I didn't like the way it sounded. I didn't like the way I sounded saying it. My accent. I was like, this just isn't for me. But I couldn't stop chanting it. I really did not like it. But I could not stop chanting the mantra.
Wow. The first time, eh?
Yeah. And
amazing.
so I went about 4 hours.
Okay.
I went about 4 hours chanting that day.
Mm-hmm. 4 hours the first day.
Yeah. Like I said, I just couldn't stop. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Like the mantra it's almost like the mantra was repeating itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just watching, irritated.
Really?
Right. But, I didn't know what was happening, but eventually it had been a couple weeks of chanting this silly mantra and all of that. And then one day, after a really hard day, I was still very much addicted to drugs. And the next day I was planning.
You used to take drug regularly?
All the time. There wasn't a single day I went without drugs.
My God. Since which age?
Probably
Since when?
14.
So you mean 14 to 2019, like 5-6 years, like you're taking every day?
Yeah. So, and it was mainly for depression, just because I hated everything. I hated my parents. I hated everybody around me. I hated myself. I really didn't hate my parents or anybody around me, but I hated myself. And it made me... It's a very depressing existence.
How you get the drug in age of 14? Because in USA,
easy.
You need to get at 21 years old.
No.
Huh?
No, illegal drugs.
Legal drugs?
Illegal drugs.
Illegal drugs.
Yeah, there's no age limit on illegal drugs.
I mean, that means...
If you have money, anybody will sell to you.
Really?
It's so easy to get.
But it's against the law. This is against the law, right?
Right. Well, it's against the law for you to do the same thing I was doing. It doesn't matter how old you are. So, like, it wasn't like beer. I wasn't like walking into a store and buying liquor. I had a guy or several people who were able to acquire drugs in different ways. And
I see many gas stations surrounding. There is some young high school students and they want to get the drugs and they approach to the strange people or maybe known people, I don't know. So I see a few times that they give money to the elder guy, I can relate, I can understand. So that way, but that's the alcohol. But however do you say the, like injection, all this thing, very, rare drugs. Those also you can buy it with easily here?
Easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, too easy. So, and the thing of it is most people that are selling it are also doing it. So they're not so discriminative about who they sell to.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're also in usually pretty hard positions. Mm-hmm. So they're selling drugs because it's one of the only ways they have to consume
drug also.
Right. And it's one of the only ways they can feed themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite a situation.
So I want to go more deeper about the society here. Like you said, the most of the student, your surrounding your friends, most of them, they take the drugs?
I sold drugs to my friends in high school.
High school?
Mm-hmm. Middle school.
My
I
God.
sold pills in middle school.
Okay.
My parents taught me how to sell drugs. Like my mom and dad taught me how to sell drugs.
Which age?
That started closer to around, well, my whole life really, because they were drug dealers. So the whole time, anytime I watched them, I was watching them make drug transactions.
Is it okay that is in video going on, you know? So,
That's-
anyway.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, the truth is the truth, you know? It really
I'm
doesn't
so
matter.
sorry, you know, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to explain. I mean, I see the people beautiful. You are a very beautiful soul. And, you know, like, how you've been going through, I mean, the young age, you know, where you just consuming the drug, you know, like, it's so painful, you know? So painful.
Yeah, I started doing drugs because I figured, I assumed, I was like, okay, so because everybody I saw around me, they did drugs. And I was also suffering. The only difference was I didn't have drugs every day to numb my suffering. So I looked around and I was like, okay, everybody suffers, and the answer for your suffering is drugs. Obviously, that's not the truth. That's not the full answer. But that's the only conclusion I could come to, is that everybody is in pain and everybody has to medicate either with alcohol, pills, sex, or whatever it is for different people. You know what I mean? And it's really not because people don't wind up on drugs because they just love to be on drugs. They're usually just running from some depression, running from some anxiety, or trying to treat some condition they have. So, anyways, yeah.
Wow.
But just to tie everything up, a couple weeks of chanting the mantra. I think I chanted it about every day. There may have been days that I didn't chant it. But eventually I just made the decision. I was like, okay, something's gotta be different. And I'm not doing these drugs anymore.
So within a week you realized that?
Yeah, but, and here's the thing. I bought different drugs to help me withdraw from the drugs I was addicted to. Okay. So my plan...
It was before mantra or after mantra?
After mantra.
Okay.
After mantra.
Very nice.
So I bought this drug to help me cope with the withdrawal of coming off of this drug. Not so smart, but I had to work every day. And withdrawals, they'll put you in the bed, homie. You know, if you don't have something to help your body come through the muscular, you know, all the things, the peristalsis, the you know, the bowel movements, they just happen. You're just sick. You're like an 80-year-old man dying, you know. So I got those drugs to help me over like a 2-week period to recover from the drugs that I was initially addicted to. And the night that I laid down and said to myself that I'm doing this and I'm committing to it, I just had I had a voice speak to me from within. And that's going to start to sound crazy. Anybody who's watching the video at this point, it's like, yep, this guy's on drugs, hearing voices within. But the voice told me to throw away my pills, to stop eating meat. Mind you, I didn't know of a single vegetarian. I never met a vegetarian in my life. Everybody I ever knew ate meat. And I had no reason to stop eating meat that I knew of. You know, I had no reason that I could see. It just didn't make sense. But I have this voice in me telling me to flush these pills that I got to help me withdraw, to stop eating meat, to keep chanting this mantra, and to do these things. And it gave me a list of different things. And at the end, the voice promised me that if I did according to those regulations, that I wouldn't have to, my withdrawal wouldn't be so hard, and I would be able to do it. So, and that night, I got a dream. When I went to sleep after hearing the voice, I got a dream. I don't want to go into the full dream, but it was
Just a
amazing.
little more deep. Like, what time? The time? Can you tell me the time? The why is you feeling like it is in the dream?
Yeah, so it was probably like 10 or 11 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And then after I got to sleep, I got the dream. And when I woke up, I was like, man, this is crazy. I had some voice pop up in my body. It's not like it didn't seem like it came from just in my head, so to speak. But it was a voice that I could feel throughout my body, like I was the one speaking the words, but my mouth wasn't moving. It was crazy. But anyways, the voice also, it didn't have a tone. It was more or less just like this soundless vibrate. I can't explain it. But anyways, I woke up the next morning really kind of shook up. I didn't know what to expect. But I took those pills. I popped the top off. You know, I got rid of them. I got rid of all the other drugs that I was going to do. And I was like, okay, you know, strange voice, here we go. I've done what you said to do. I'm not going to eat meat. We're going to see what happens. And it went on about a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks like that. And no symptoms.
What do you mean no symptoms?
No cramps.
Okay.
No pooping, no excessive bowel movements, no loose stool, I didn't feel dead, you know, because for like 3 weeks after you withdraw from certain drugs, you'll literally feel like a dead man. You know, to get up and go use the bathroom is like a full day workout. I didn't have that.
My God.
I was able to work every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually I got back in touch with Nate, and I was like, you know, there's something to this stuff. You know, I had this dream. I've had these realizations. I've stopped doing drugs.
Amazing.
I stopped putting sugar in things. I just started taking care of myself. And I still had certain habits. Like I was still smoking cigarettes and stuff at the time. But compared to what I was doing, 3 days before that, that's a totally different person. You know what I mean? But anyways.
So mantra works.
Yeah. So I hollered at Nate, and I was like, I don't know what kind of spell you put on me or like what's going on, but here's what I've had happen. And he told me, he said, okay, Prabhu, I think you're ready for Gita. You should read Gita now. Now that you have some realization, you should go read Gita. So I downloaded an app, like immediately when he said that. I just downloaded a Gita right on my phone, and it was Prabhupada's Gita. It just so happened to be Prabhupada's Gita. And in this one, it only gave text by text unless you clicked on the text, and then it would open the purport. So all I could see was text by text. And I just read through the whole Bhagavad Gita in one sitting. As soon as he told me I should read Gita, I was just like, bam, I read Gita immediately. And
you mean you read Gita, full Gita?
Yeah.
In how many, like, one shot?
It was just text by text, no purports.
Okay.
The one that I had, it didn't have...
like 700 verses?
Right, the 700 verses.
So once you downloaded and you finished one shot?
Yeah.
Oh my God. You are like... I mean, we are Indian. I mean, I can say, when I got Bhagavad Gita, I never read it. I mean, it's amazing, you know.
I couldn't stop reading it.
Wow.
Like, when I started, I got past, Sanjaya Uvacha, Dhritarashtra Uvacha, and all that, and I finally started making sense of some words. And then when it gets into chapter 2, and Krishna and Arjuna are speaking, it's like, I was like, damn, man, I know all this stuff. Like, I feel all of this before. And now I'm having it validated in some ancient scripture that I knew nothing about. But it's talking about all these things that I'm going through or I've been through or different things like that.
So you mean you know this stuff means that if by feelings that the realization about this, like what Krishna was saying or about Bhagavad Gita?
All of these things I had thought of before at a very young age.
Okay.
But nobody around me had that kind of mindset. So I didn't have anybody to speak to about that kind of stuff. Or
share or discussion.
Or I was like kind of crazy. But when I found Gita, it was like, I mean, I'm not saying that I knew the whole Gita, you know what I mean? And there were still things that I had questions about. But whenever it starts talking about the eternality of the soul, how you should not be attached to pleasure and pain to achieve ultimate happiness, about just these different universal truths that I felt like were already written on my heart. And then I came across the verse where Krishna says himself, he's like, I've written the truth on the heart of every living being. You already know all of this, in your true, in your full realization, you know every bit of this. It's only in your conditioning that you think you don't know it. So whenever I got a hold of Gita and it started plucking my heartstrings, so to speak. It started really answering questions. And it's almost like the questions had already been answered, but I was just confirming the fact that I was on the right track.
It was year 2029 or
2019. It was like late 2019, early 2020. That seems right.
2019, yeah, sorry.
That seems right.
Okay.
But yeah, so that started, that didn't really start me studying so much into yoga, but I began to read Prabhupada's books.
Okay. So when I ask you since how you come to the yoga, that means you mean the physical yoga 1 year. 4-month Ayurveda, because you're saying 2019 first you read the Bhagavad Gita. That means you are little connected.
Right. So 2019 I started to learn a little bit about bhakti.
Okay.
Right.
Through the Nath.
Yeah.
I mean, your brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I also wasn't studying so seriously. I didn't really, even just some small realization felt like so much, because I had gone my whole life with everybody was like really asleep.
Yeah. Okay.
So I didn't really feel the need. I didn't feel as though I had any need to continue studying. So what I just developed this routine where I would get up and I would chant my mantras every morning before work, and then I would chant during my lunch break at work, and then when I got home again I would chant before bed. I started offering all my food.
So Nate gave you the japa beads or Rudraksha, right?
Yeah.
Rudraksha, okay. That's good.
Yeah, so he gave me the japa beads, and I developed a meditation routine. I was chanting probably 4 rounds in the morning, 2 to 3 rounds at work, and then another 3 to 4 rounds when I got home in the evening. And I kind of just lived my life that way for a little while, and started to allow the mantra to unfold. I didn't know what was going on. I was just chanting my mantra at a certain time. I knew that it made me feel a certain way whenever I paid a certain level of attention to it.
So just because, look, I mean, friends, you may watch this video, but frankly, we don't have any intention to make video. Like, we went to buy, what is the lights? So we are this is my car, and my car bulb, not working. So we went to buy a bulb in the AutoZone. So, and I was boring in the car, I feeling just have shoot the video and just have talk with Dakota, with mobile. I mean, so many nice, amazing thing. I mean, I got to know about American society. I'm in USA like last 4 years. So, and what is your full name? Can you tell full name?
Dakota.
So Dakota got the mantra in 7 days, and within 7 days, his life totally changed. Like, he got realization. Even he used to take so much drug, and that mantra helped him to think that, they give realization that I should not eat those drugs, and even his consciousness is so awake that he can go and buy that anti-drugs and eat it, right? So have you ever did before, like, anti-drugs, medicine, that you feeling like, I don't want to continue this drug life, I want to buy the anti-drug thing, or only this time after chanting the mantra?
It was only after chanting the mantra. Yeah. Yeah, it was after chanting the mantra.
Okay, so amazing. I'm really amazing. Like amazed that how this mantra works. The chanting. Okay, I really like to continue. Like I want to really like to people know about the mantra. People know about the Ayurveda, yoga, how it works, how really people connected, and also mantra. I mean, Krishna says like he's not different from his name and sound and in himself. So when he chant the mantra, and Krishna come personally, actually he come personally and save the soul. Give the intelligence to give the understanding the world and body, mind, soul, and our real position. Like you mentioned about once you read the Bhagavad Gita, that Bhagavad Gita help you to understand who you are, right? Okay. So can you tell me who you are now? Like, what is your realization after reading the Bhagavad Gita?
Well, what I've come to know is that who I am is not able to be defined by or grasped by my intellect or ego in any way. So as soon as I tell you I think I'm this, it's some sort of egoic grasping, sort of I want to be this, I like to be that, and such and such. But truthfully, what I've realized is that I already am who I need to be, in my truest essence. Not as though this person Dakota is exactly where he needs to be, according to his egoic inclinations, but the fact that I myself am spirit soul. I'm emanated directly from the image of God itself, and all I have to do is to remember that, and all of these false identifications fall away. So as far as to tell you who is it that I am fully and truly right now, I cannot say directly. I can tell you that it has developed even though this personality is temporary, it has developed my personality to an extent to where I see hope in my future. I see contentment in my present moment. I've made peace with my past. So it's made me, what realizations I've gotten from Bhagavad Gita is that I'm fully equipped and fully capable of being a successful, happy human being, until I decide to quit this body, until it's time for me to be evicted from this apartment, so to speak.
Nice message for those are like in drugs. Like if you really thinking about your life deeply, okay, I should not give the message, but you give the message to the people who are in drug, or who thinking about to change their life, or who thinking to learn about spiritual or God, or better than themselves, want to get over from the bad situation to a better understanding about life and the world. Can you give them some message, like those are taking drugs or those wanted to do suicide?
Yeah.
And those are in helpless. Can you give some message and with your realizations, please?
I think the best thing that I could say to anybody struggling with drug addiction is to stop attacking the symptom. Stop attacking the drug use itself as the source of all your problems. Whereas the drug use is actually a manifestation, it's a symptom of the root of your problems. You doing drugs is actually a fruit of how badly you were hurt as a child, or whatever it may be. Even if you've had a wonderful childhood, you haven't ever acknowledged your truth. You've always lived a lie, you've always covered up, you've always lived up to somebody else's projection of who you should be. So a lot of people have something to numb. So the first thing I would encourage anybody to do who has any issue with drug addiction or any sort of intoxication, any sort of emotional imbalance. You know, if every time I'm bored I pull out my phone and